Okay, so this lesson is going to be about tints and shades. And a tint is a color when you've added white to it, so it tints it lighter. And a shade is a color or a hue when you add black to it. And we're going to make another ice cream project. So what you need for this is a piece of scrap paper to make a tracing template, a piece of plain white paper, a paintbrush, some glue stick or Elmer's glue is fine, something brown to draw with, marker, colored pencil, crayon, something red to draw with, or red paint will work just fine, scissors, pencil, a circle about this size, it can be bigger or smaller, and I'm gonna need a Sharpie, but you probably won't need it. I'm just gonna use it to outline some of the vocabulary. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start off with our scrap paper. Let me move this to the side. And I'm gonna trace my lid because I want all of my ice cream scoops to be the same. So now that I have a lid or a circle, I'm gonna add 5 scallops to the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 little U's. That's called a scalloped line. And now I'm going to cut that out. And this is what I'm going to be using to make the rest of the project. So I'm cutting. And I'm going quickly, but take your time. All right. Okay, so there's my ice cream. Now, I'm gonna take my tracer. I'll do this in Sharpie so it's nice and bright and you can see it. And I'm gonna do it in the top corner. Trace it right in the top corner first. And this doesn't have to be super nice and neat because you're gonna cut these out. So 1, I'm going to try to fit 3 down this side. 2. 3. Okay. Down here I'm going to do a circle. You can trace a penny or a quarter. I'm going to do 2 more up here. One, and then here's one more. I want a total of 5. If you want to do more than 5, go for it. Okay, and then right down here I'm going to draw a big triangle. Okay, now I have 5 scoops of ice cream, a cone, and something for a cherry. Since we are just learning about tints and shades, I'm not going to worry about painting the cherry. I'm just going to color it in with a red marker. If you have red paint, you can make yours with red paint. If you want to do it with marker or crayon, that's fine as well. Okay, so the learning part of this. A regular color all by itself is called a hue. H-U-E. So we're going to paint one of these scoops of ice cream in with just a pure hue. Then we're going to make a tint. Will be tint number 1. And that is the hue plus white. You don't need to write this on yours. This is just for me teaching. Then we're going to make another tint. We'll call that tint number 2. And that is the hue plus more white. So you can have lots of different tints of a color. Okay, so we have 2 tints, and now we're going to do 2 shades. Oh. Shade number 1 is going to be the hue and black. And I like to think of shade, if you think of sunglasses that are also called shades, they make things darker. So black, a shade and a color, is going to make it darker. And then shade number 2 is the hue, and you guessed it, more black. Can anybody think of a really common tint that everybody thinks is a color? Well, it is a color, but it's one of the most common colors, and it's actually just a tint of a hue, and that's pink. Pink is a tint of red. So if you take red, which is the hue, and you add white, it gives you pink. So pink is just a tint of red. All right, so now mixing these up. You're gonna start with the solid hue. So I'm just picking up some paint, and you can do any color you want. I just picked purple because that's what I had left. Okay, and I'm taking my time, but again, we're gonna cut these out so you don't have to be super precise with staying in the lines. Okay, so that's my hue. Now, my hue plus white. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this, and I'm gonna take a little bit of white, and I'm gonna mix it until I get a color kind of right between the two. So that's my first tint right there. And then I'm gonna paint in my next scoop. Okay, and then tint number 2 is a hue and more white. So I'm just gonna add more white to what I've already started. Okay. And you don't need a ton of paint to do this. All right, now I have a paper towel, and I'm just gonna wipe off the paint on my brush, because the white, if you were to use your brush just like that, would mix with the black and make gray, and we don't want that. That's a whole other lesson. All right, now when you're making a shade, black is really, really strong, so you only need the tiniest amount to make a change. I'm just dipping itty bitty, can you see that? Itty bitty amount. Okay. And now I have a darker version of this purple. Okay. And I made just enough to go through that one. Now I'm going to add a little bit of more black to make it even darker for my next one. And it's always better to add more than it is to try to take it away, because you can't take it away once the paint is in there. But you can always add a little bit more until you get it just right. Okay. So now I have a hue, which is the color all by itself. My first tint, which is the color in white. My second tint, which is the color with more white. My first shade, which has a little bit of black, and my second shade that has a little bit more black. Okay, wiping this off my brush, and I'm gonna paint my ice cream cone. And you can color your ice cream cone in if you'd like. You can do it with a crayon, you can do it with paint. I had some extra tan paint hanging around, so we're just gonna paint it in. And again, we're gonna cut this out so you don't have to be super precise. Okay, so that's the first step. Now, I have one that I've already done that's dry that I can show you. I'm gonna start, I'll do this with crayon. I'm gonna start by adding my texture lines to my cone to give it that waffle pattern. and then you're going to cut everything out. Make sure you let this dry. That's why I did another one. You don't want to be cutting wet paint. All right, there's my cone. I'm going to cut out each of my ice creams. Again, I'm going to go fast because you don't need to watch me cut out ice cream. But take your time. You don't want anybody getting cut. I hope you're all having fun with these projects. If you're doing them, make sure to send me pictures. I would love to see what you're coming up with. Kind of looks like a little paw print if you go fast enough. All right. Two more. And I have a big sheet of construction paper that I have a piece left from another project, so I'm going to use that as the background for this. But I thought this would be a really neat project if you wanted to glue it onto a piece of newspaper as your background, because the black and white of the newspaper kind of represents the black and white that we added to our colors to make our tints and our shades. And again, I just picked purple because that's what I had. You can do whatever color you want. Okay. Now, I'm going to lay out my colors so that I can remember which order they go into. And I'm going to do my cone first. I'm going to take my glue. And glue it on my cone. I'm going to take, you're going to build it from the bottom up. You want to do the bottom part first so that you can layer them on top of each other. You're just going to keep going all the way up to the top until you put the cherry on it. Okay, now where'd my cherry go? Oh, there it is. You gotta finish it with a cherry on top, right? For such a big stack of ice cream. And then I can take my crayon and give it a little stem. And if you want to really do, you can do a little curved line at the bottom. And there you have it, an ice cream cone that's made up of tints and shades. All right, have fun.